Feeling better in your body shouldn't be a full-time job. That's why Hers makes it easier to get started and stick with it, backed by expert-guided online care that puts your weight loss goals first. Hers is transforming women's healthcare by providing access to affordable weight loss treatment plans. They connect you with a medical provider who will work with you to determine the best treatment option for you. If prescribed, you get medication as part of a doctor-developed weight loss program, complete with ongoing care, check-ins, dosage, and medication adjustments, and access to 24/7 online support at no additional cost. Oh, my favorite part, no hidden fees and no membership fees. Weight loss by Hers is realistic, not restrictive. Hers provides access to affordable weight loss plans built around oral medication kits and GLP-1 injectable options, with oral medication kits starting at just $69 per month with a 10-month plan when paid upfront. This isn't cookie cutter care that forgets you in the waiting room. It's your health and goals put first, with real medical providers making sure you get what you need to get results, all from the comfort of your couch. My other favorite part, Hers makes it so easy to access weight loss care. So, if you've been struggling with your weight loss journey, it's time you find the best option that works for you through Hers. Whether you want to lose weight, grow thicker, fuller hair, or find relief for anxiety, Hers has you covered. Visit hers.com/ratchet to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That's FORHERS.com/ratchet. forhers.com/ratchet. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not approved or reviewed for safety, effectiveness, or quality by the FDA. Prescription required. See website for full details, important safety information, and restrictions. Actual price depends on product and plan purchased. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and those who don't identify as either, you are listening to Ratchet and Respectable. Whew. There is so much shit going on right now. We have a lot to cover today, including the Texas state representative who's been locked in the fucking state house for over 24 hours at the time I'm recording. And I'm recording this episode on Tuesday, August 19th, just after 5 p.m. in East America. Let me get some housekeeping stuff out the way, and then we'll talk about the new Denzel movie. We'll talk about Halle Berry. We'll talk about the And Just Like That series finale, in fact. The occupation of D.C., the National Guard, is still here and doing checkpoints at major intersections. Like, it's a mess. And also, it's the 20th anniversary coming up of Hurricane Katrina. And there are a series of documentaries that are coming out. One of them, Ryan Coogler produced, is on Hulu, 5-part series. And I watched it last night and I just boo-hooed my way through it. I need to talk about that before we talk about the federal indictment of, this is some bullshit, the federal indictment of the current sitting mayor of New Orleans. I think old girl was dickmatized and just made a series of bad decisions, and not just, her being married, sleeping with somebody else's husband, but like actual criminal shit, hence the federal indictment. We have the indictment, all 44 pages. I'm going to try to get that into this episode. I might have to part 1 it and part 2 it, depending on the length. Like I said, a lot to cover, but let me do some quick housekeeping. Last week, I let you know that the Season World trips for 2026 were going on sale. 2 for Marrakesh, 2 for Ghana, and 2 for Cape Town. They all sold out in an hour. So people who are sending me DMs and going to the website and sending me emails about how to get on the trip, Marrakesh and Cape Town, the wait lists are over 100 people. Unless you were already on the list, it's impossible, really, that you're going to get on the 2026 trip. So I've disabled the wait list for those. There's a Ghana trip in April and there's a Ghana trip in August. It's technically sold out, but the wait list is still open. If you go to my website, demetriallucas.com, you can still sign up to get on the wait list for one of the Ghana trips if that's something you're interested in. So I'll keep that open. Also, about the wait list, if we add additional trips for 2026, people on the wait list get first dibs. So if you're interested in going to Ghana for April, for August, or maybe a pop-up trip that may be announced later, that is your best bet to get on that trip. A super duper thank you for everyone who signed up for the trips, and also the folks who tried to sign up. I know it's Hunger Games. I had this grand idea that, we'll trips for all. We'll release all the 2026 trips at the same time, and people will have more opportunities and a further lead time. So you can plan your schedule or save your coin in order to do the trip. We are aware they're expensive. They're worth it, I promise. But we want as many people as possible to be able to travel with us. So we had spaces for like, I don't know, I think it was 110 people total. They sold out in an hour, which, okay, significantly better than like the 15 minutes or the 4 minutes that they sold out before, right? Folks are asking me about 2027 trips, and I was like, don't. We'll make another announcement next August. How about that? My friend was in town over the weekend. We went to the movies. We went to see the Denzel movie, Highest to Lowest. It's okay. Denzel has a certain way of acting, and we go to Denzel movies to see Denzel do Denzel. Somebody pointed this out in Gladiator. We were like, Denzel is playing like the same character in almost every movie, except for Malcolm X. Like, he got really wrapped up in that role, but like everything else is kind of like Denzel doing Denzel. And I was like, I mean, points have been made. He does Denzel throughout this movie. He is very compelling. He's amazing to watch. The way he delivers a line, the way he enunciates, the facial expressions he makes, the way he holds his lips. It's just, it's Denzel. There's other good parts about the movie. Jeffrey Wright is in the film. He plays a prominent role. Jeffrey Wright. He's amazing. Full stop. No notes. Wendell Pierce. He's in 50 million things. But Bump from The Wire, who gave us the greatest line, one of the greatest lines of all time. Stop giving a fuck when it's not your turn. I say it at least once a day. He was in it. He's great. Wendell Pierce doesn't miss. You see, I'm like trying to like focus on the positive. Oh, Gilded Age, Peggy's daddy. It took me like, the movie's over 2 hours. It took me like an hour and 40 minutes to realize the detective was Peggy's daddy. And I was like, I know this man from somewhere. Where I know this man from? Like, I'm trying to look at his face because he has, he's not dressed like an old man. Peggy's daddy isn't old in real life. He plays old on the Gilded Age. I was like, where I know this man with this full head of hair from? And then, that meme of like Leonardo DiCaprio, he's like pointing at the TV screen all excited. That was me in the theater. My friend was like, are you okay? And I was like, that's Peggy's daddy. And he was like, who is Peggy? I was like, the Gilded Age? And he was like, what's the Gilded Age? I was like, I can't explain this to you in the middle of the film. Okay. ASAP. ASAP is in the movie. He doesn't show up until, that's not important. I don't want to give you any spoilers. He has a significant role in the movie, and his two biggest scenes, he's playing opposite Denzel. He holds his own with Denzel. Whatever that film was shot in, and the size of that screen, ASAP's face zoomed in, that's a pretty nigga. He is. Spike loves to like hammer home his themes. Subtlety is not one of the things that he's known for, but it's a lot about Black ownership, Black culture, the exploitation of Black culture, AI, not so much clout, but the way people do things online, the way people do things in real life and then post them online in order to become viral. I don't know what the shorthand expression for that is, but it tackles themes such as that. Then there's morality questions about money and family. There's significant bad acting. The lady that plays Denzel's wife, and she's like significantly younger than him. His wife in the film looks like she could be his daughter. I mean, it's not something that Hollywood hasn't done forever and a day, but it just caught my eye, like the age difference of them. So, and the woman who was cast as his wife, she played Nola's girlfriend. She's Got to Have It on Netflix. She played Nola's responsible girlfriend that had like the daughter with all the mouths. I think the daughter was like 10, 11, something like that. Real cute kid. So she's in the Spike Lee universe. Her acting was ungood. I didn't mind her on She's Gotta Have It. It didn't stand out to me one way or another, which means her acting was fine. But in this situation, because, Denzel act. So you need somebody who can act with Denzel, like Viola and Denzel, like act and ping off each other. This was not that. And the role requires significant emotion at certain points. And she just had to like bury her head in his shoulder and like pretend to cry because she couldn't produce no tears. And I was like, oh, it was painfully bad. Ice Spice is listed as being in the film. She does pop up at one point in the film, and she doesn't have her signature hair. So it took a minute for me to recognize her. I had to lean over and be like, is that Ice Spice? And he was like, yeah. she's there for all of generously 60 seconds. I was like, her name got mentioned in the film for a 60-second cameo. I mean, I guess because like she has a name, but I was also like, I mean, it's Ice Spice. I mean, get your check, get your paper, get your love. Like, I'm not a hater. Like, I think her music is god awful and terrible. But like, get your check. Honest work for honest pay. If you really like Denzel movies, you'll like it. And if you really like Spike Lee movies, you'll like it. It was a quality film. It was a good night out. I wasn't mad at it. It was sold out across the city. My friend was staying in DC. We ended up going to the movies in Silver Spring, which is not close to me or him, but it was the only place that had seats that weren't in the front row. I think right before it opened, the critics had been very kind. Let me look at Rotten Tomatoes right now real quick. I don't always put much on reviews from mainstream places just because, sometimes folks just don't get Black entertainment. Let me see. It has a 91% rating. That's the Denzel factor. I didn't love it. I wanted to love it. Maybe it's me. I want to be able to lie about it. I still haven't gotten how y'all went off on me about Queen and Slim. I like the movie. Admittedly, the ending could have been different. But I like the movie. And I told y'all I like the movie. I saw it early. And I told y'all, like, hey, I like the movie. And people were like, well, hey, I'll go see it. Because, Demetrius said, and y'all went. And the way y'all cursed me out over liking that film and suggesting it, y'all still remind me of that from time to time. I've recommended good shit since then, especially books and TV. But y'all don't let me live that one down. I didn't love it. Go see it for yourself. Support the Black auteur. I think it's going to be streaming on Apple, if not already, sooner than later, coming September 5th. So you don't have to wait long. I would recommend that you wait to catch it on Apple. I also watched the series finale of And Just Like That, i.e. the new Sex in the City. And I think we talked about, actually, I'm positive we did. We talked about when they announced that the series was ending. And I think in summary, I had said something like good riddance because it just seemed like they lost the plot. The writers were making sloppy mistakes. I didn't feel like they were really giving the characters a lot of story or good story, or they dragged out that Aiden storyline so long. And I was just like, yeah, I'm good. I'm just like in the torture, because that's what it was. Because I've been watching Sex in the City in some format or another, gosh, since before I moved to New York. That was season 3 or 4 of the show. I've invested 25 years of my life into this show and these characters. I was at the point where I'm just watching it out of kind of hate watching, but also out of loyalty just to see, what they come up with. But I just figured like series finale, you've had 2 movies and then you brought the show back and it didn't so much as end as the writers just sort of gave up and then like the credits rolled. Like it didn't have the wrap up of a series finale or even a season finale, because I think they came to the decision to cut the show very late into the season. It kind of just stopped. Not so much ended, just stopped. I thought Miranda had a decent storyline. About to give spoilers. It came out almost a week ago. It's fair game. Fast forward 5 to 10 minutes if you want to skip the spoilers for the finale of Sex and the City. Go now. Like, now. Miranda had a decent ending. She divorced her husband, Steve, in season 1 of the reboot. She seems to have found love with someone else. The lady with the dogs, they're compatible. They're stable. It seems to work. They showed up for each other. I appreciate that. Charlotte and Harry have been recovering from Harry's health issues. They're a solid, stable couple. Their kids are flourishing. I was very glad they didn't try to break up that couple. But I thought the storyline with Harry having cancer and then unable to sexually perform, them navigating that situation. He got his erection back in the finale. I thought that was good for them. But the other characters, Carrie in particular, Carrie was this single woman icon for years. She dated all these guys. She was really kind of hooked on Big. Big treats her like trash, but whatever. They figure it out. They eventually get married. She mourns the death of her husband. No problem. She starts dating again. She tries a bunch of people. Things don't work out. And then she circles back with Aiden. And that storyline it was painful. Oh my God, it was so painful. Aiden essentially never got over Carrie breaking his heart, which she did all those years ago. Like they were engaged and she cheated on him with Big. I get it. I thought it was realistic that you circle back to the guy who really wanted you and y'all reconnect later in life, but he never really got over the hurt. And then also, as Aiden says plainly, when, they finally end things, like, he was like, I don't trust you. And it was like, then nigga, why'd you circle back and waste my time? It wasn't necessarily a bad storyline. It just took up the majority of the season. And it was just like, it was just painful, painful. And I think I was just frustrated that this character is like damn near 60 years old and still doesn't have emotional intelligence. She still doesn't trust her gut. She doesn't pick up on red flags. Maybe it's because Aiden was so familiar and she just wanted the situation to work. Maybe she felt like she was righting her wrongs. So, I don't know. It didn't work for me as a storyline. So they finally break up and then she decides it's pitiful. Like, there are pros and cons to being single, just like there are pros and cons to being in a relationship. It's not all good on one side or all bad on the other. But it's just weird to me that, like, a show that was iconic, reflected the culture in some ways, but also shifted the culture in others, about the idea of single women over a certain age and women in sex and relationships, that it would boil down to the single girl iconic character just sort of being like, I've dated all the men who are halfway decent, and kind of just sort of like gives up on finding someone, as opposed to being like, I don't know, being empowering about it, being like, you know what? I deserve better. And until someone better comes along, like, I'm just going to do me. I'm going to have this amazing, wonderful, unpartnered life. The writers took these iconic characters, and with the exception of Charlotte, just sort of watered them down and mixed them up into people that are no longer recognizable. And maybe in life just wears you down or twists you and turns you and beats you up so much that you become unrecognizable. But just for TV characters, just as, writing, it doesn't really work when you just shift your characters into, it's one thing when they shift to grow. It's a whole nother thing when they shift into kind of like defeat. Seema, they just kind of dropped the ball with her character too. Like, she used to have prominent storylines, and as the show wore on over the seasons, because Aiden took up so much of the time, Seema's storyline just got less and less and less and less. Like, and Seema, who's just such this strong character and is so resolute in who she is, ends up dating this guy who's totally not her type, which is fine, but he doesn't check all the boxes. And again, she's another one. Like, she wants to get married, and then she's dating this guy who doesn't want to get married. And they never really wrap up like how the two of them resolve this conflict. Seema just kind of shows up. The last time we see her, she's about to hang out with this guy's family for Thanksgiving, and she's in jeans, which Seema is never in jeans. There was an episode earlier in this season where one of Seema's coworkers tried to hook her up with a matchmaker. Not tried, did hook her up with a matchmaker. And the matchmaker tries to redo Seema. And she's like, you need to change your personality to this and present this way. You need to dress like this. And you're too harsh in this, and pastels and soft and all of these things. And Seema makes it halfway through the date and is like, yeah, I can't do this. And then she ends up with this guy. And then out of nowhere, she just sort of like, she wants to get married. Now marriage seems to be a back burner. She doesn't care anymore. And then, like, she's walking around in some shit she'd never wear. And I was just like, huh? Growth is one thing, and it's fine for characters to grow, but you got to explain it. And they just skipped over, it seemed like, at least 2 to 3 episodes worth of change and growth. They did in 2 scenes, which should have been a couple episodes worth of character development, at least. And the same thing with Lisa Todd Wesley. She didn't necessarily have a bad storyline. I don't think Seema's was bad either. I just thought it was, we just didn't get enough time with her. But Lisa Todd Wesley, the black girl, Nicole Ari Parker, the storyline this season, she's working on a documentary. Her assistant quits. She gets a new assistant who is Eggs from True Blood, that man has aged beautifully. Like, he filled out, and they have like some chemistry that bothers her because, she's a happily married woman. She's got these 3 kids. She is very much attracted to her husband, and she's uncomfortable with her attraction to Eggs. Her husband runs for office. He doesn't win. He gets depressed about it. We see him in a couple scenes looking sad, but otherwise we don't get like a real impact of what the loss does to him. I think that's a great storyline. Like, you're with someone and they try for something, they don't get it, and they're depressed about it. That's some real ish that happens in relationships. I would have loved to see that storyline explored. We get a couple scenes of it, but like, Lisa Todd Wesley got backburnered for like all the Aiden shit. She was a really, really, really great character. She, her husband, the world that she inhabits. Like they had a dinner party at their house and there were like all these like super mega wealthy, mega culture black folk that exist in this like, upper, I don't know, east, west side world. And I would have loved to seen that explored more. And just, the show didn't because they couldn't, they didn't know how. I don't know. Ungood. They dropped the ball on her. And then also with her relationship with eggs, because like there's a attraction. It doesn't cross the line, which is fine, but also it's just not really explored. They just like fast forwarded through it. They just didn't develop that storyline. Yeah. I read that Sarah Jessica Parker is she's an EP on the show, Carrie. She's trying to take the show to another platform. And I'm just like, honey, just let it go. The Sex and the City universe has run its course. Unless you're going to do a spinoff of Lisa Todd Wexley, I don't see the point. Like I'm a diehard fan. Like diehard, like had framed posters. It's done. Let it go. The end. Feeling better in your body shouldn't be a full-time job. That's why Hers makes it easier to get started and stick with it. Backed by expert-guided online care that puts your weight loss goals first. Hers is transforming women's healthcare by providing access to affordable weight loss treatment plans. They connect you with a medical provider who will work with you to determine the best treatment option for you. If prescribed, you get medication as part of a doctor-developed weight loss program, complete with ongoing care, check-ins, dosage, and medication adjustments, and access to 24/7 online support at no additional cost. Oh, my favorite part, no hidden fees and no membership fees. Weight loss by Hers is realistic, not restrictive. Hers provides access to affordable weight loss plans built around oral medication kits and GLP-1 injectable options. With oral medication kits starting at just $69 per month with a 10-month plan when paid upfront. This isn't cookie cutter care that forgets you in the waiting room. It's your health and goals put first, with real medical providers making sure you get what you need to get results, all from the comfort of your couch. My other favorite part, Hers makes it so easy to access weight loss care. So, if you've been struggling with your weight loss journey, it's time you find the best option that works for you through Hers. Whether you want to lose weight, grow thicker, fuller hair, or find relief for anxiety, Hers has you covered. Visit hers.com/ratchet to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That's FORHERS.com/ratchet. forhers.com/ratchet. Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not approved or reviewed for safety, effectiveness, or quality by the FDA. Prescription required. See website for full details, important safety information, and restrictions. Actual price depends on product and plan purchased. What else do we have on our list before we get into like the super mega crazy shit? Oh, David Justice and Halle Berry. David Justice did an interview, and it wasn't just about Halle Berry. He was talking about, just him being, MF David Justice, which he was at one point. Like he was a baseball great. What is it? He got paid. Was it 60 million, 30 million? One of those. He made a shit ton of money as a baseball player. He was a really good player back in the 90s, 2000s. But he did an interview and it was about like his life overall. It wasn't just about his marriage to Halle Berry, but he was asked about it and he was very candid in his answers. And that's the part of the interview that went viral. So he said they dated, I want to say 5 or 6 months. She proposed to him. This is his version of events. They were both in their mid-20s. I think when I checked the numbers, Halle Berry was 25 at the time. She just celebrated, by the way, her 59th birthday. So happy birthday to Halle Berry. But this was literally over half her lifetime ago, and probably his too, because I think they're around the same age, that he's discussing all these years later. So let me say this. People have asked me, not so much anymore because enough time has passed, but to do interviews about divorce, about my ex-husband, and I declined all of them. I've said stuff on here randomly about the marriage, the relationship, the end of it, but I've never gone into any significant detail of the ins and outs of our relationship. I did say I decided to leave on my birthday, but I've never said exactly what triggered it and won't. I don't think it's necessary. I say that to say I don't have issues with people asking about stuff, but you can say no. David Justice had the opportunity and all the right to say, you know what, it's been 20 some odd years. She's moved on. I've moved on. No hard feelings, but that's just not something I want to bring up. That was an option. He chose not to utilize that option. So he goes into detail to discuss his marriage to Halle Berry. He says they were very young. One of his criticisms while they were married is she didn't cook or clean. He wanted to have children. He didn't feel like she would be a nurturing mother figure. He says they eventually divorced. I think they were only married like year and a half, two. I wouldn't say all of the internet. Maybe it was just the women of the internet. But people were like, you got married to Halle Berry, who was already a star by the time y'all got married. Like, you were in your realm and you were a big deal, and she was in her realm and she was a big deal. Like, you really thought Halle Berry was going to be cooking and cleaning for you. Understanding that two people living in the house, like, the house does need to be clean. There needs to be food in the house because people need to eat. He never said that there was no food in the house. He never said the house was filthy. Someone was cleaning it. Food was provided in some capacity. It's just the fact that she didn't actually physically, labor to do it. And I was like, you wanted Halle Berry, Halle fucking Berry, to be like cooking and cleaning and laboring for you. He did say, because I watched more of the interview than just like the clip that was circulating, which, made it sound very provocative, which I get to a degree because, the provocative, it gets the people going. That's why people tune in. He did say that his mindset of what a wife was supposed to be at that time was only based on his parents' relationship, and particularly what his mother did. But he admitted that his mindset at that time wasn't very evolved. Nevertheless, Halle Berry, who's been in a very public relationship with Van Hunt for the last few years, Halle Berry posted pictures from vacations. She's one of those people that seems like they're on eternal vacation, which I was like, I love your life. Halle Berry posted pictures of her and Van and her and herself on vacation. And the caption was something like cooking, cleaning, enjoying motherhood, mothering, something like that. But basically, all the things that he claimed that she wasn't capable of being, the criticism that he had of her as a wife, she's doing those things gleefully with someone else. Also, one of the pictures she posted, I'm going to recreate this picture next time I'm on somebody's island. She's laid out somewhere and she's got a wine glass between her toes. So almost like she's toasting, but she's like raising her foot. It's a great photo. And I was like, why are more people not creating this? Like, everybody's trying to like balance on, I don't know, some narrow surface in a stiletto. I was like, put a wine glass between your toes on an island. Like, that's the flex. It was a very Lori Harvey response. Was it Future had criticized Lori Harvey and she didn't respond, and she just posted some pictures of just looking fucking outstanding. She looked fucking outstanding. And I was like, and that's how you respond to some shit. Halle Berry clearly took a page out of the Lori Harvey handbook. It wasn't lost on me that, he's doing an interview. He don't look bad. But if when they were together, they both look like 10s, she still looks like a 10. I'll leave it at that. Will I? Yeah. I don't want to be unkind. I think he chatted too much. And in fairness, it is his truth. He is free to tell it. But it was messy. You always see that meme. People like, who's the messiest bitch you know? It's a man, isn't it? We haven't really been talking about politics much on the pod. I need an escape from it, as I think a lot of people do. It's not like we're not bombarded with it, like, constantly. If you are currently living in D.C., then it's literally outside your door. The current leader of our country has unleashed the National Guard on the nation's capital, of which you are well aware. I live in PG County. Basically, my whole social life and most of my friends live in D.C. I've been avoiding the city for the last week and change because it's being occupied by the National Guard. As I said at the beginning of the episode, they're doing checkpoints all over the place. There's just like a bigger police presence. It's just not comfortable to move around. I know people are like, well, if you're not doing criminal shit, you should be fine. I'm not doing criminal shit. But in the state, nobody black wants to interact with the police for any reason. I'm preaching to the choir. Y'all know how black people feel about police. This doesn't really need to be explained. And I'd like to avoid interactions with them as much as possible. The vast majority of DC residents, do not want the National Guard here, did not want the police force federalized because there was just no need for it. Remember a few weeks ago, the National Guard was in LA and LA was like, hey, we're a big ass city. And it's 2 blocks of people, like with 200 people protesting. I promise you, the LAPD can do this. We don't need the National Guard, but they sent the National Guard in anyway. It was all bad, except for the fact that it sent Gavin Newsom, like it's the beginning of his villain origin story, and also possibly his re-entry into the 2028 presidential election. Because at one point it was looking good, and then he seemed to be like palling around with fascists, and people were like, the fuck? No. And then, it had all been derailed, but like now it's back on track. Whoever's doing his social media right now, they're just basically like mimicking everything Trump does down to like the weird AI photos and those weird screeds that he does on his social media. They're just mocking all of it. And it's so effective. Although MAGA people don't really get it. They're like, why is he posting like so unhinged? Why is he putting up these pictures? Why is he acting like this? And I'm like, your leader acts like this. He's literally doing the same thing in the same cadence. Like, it's kind of brilliant. People are like, oh my God, he sounds like a madman. Yes, because your leader sounds like a madman. They don't get it. Just before I started recording this episode, I was looking online, particularly to see if like the lady from Texas was still stuck up in the state house. Is the president of the United States is doing, we talked about this a while ago, it's resurfaced again, is having his team go through the Smithsonian, and they want to erase anything that doesn't match the president's vision of how America should be represented. The 250th anniversary of our country is coming up next year. And so he wants to basically scrub the truth and make the Smithsonian museums a function of his propaganda. So one of the complaints that he had earlier today, he's complaining that so much of the museums talk about how bad slavery is. And I was like, this country was founded on slavery. Slavery existed in this country before we had a constitution for this country. We're throwing into question on whether slavery is bad. This shit is crazy. Them locking this lady in the state house, State Representative Nicole Collier, I don't expect much from our country at this point. I have wrapped my mind around a civil war. I've lightly been joking about it, kind of laughing to keep from crying since Trump's first administration. I have wrapped my mind around there will likely be a civil war in this country within the next 3 years. I think midterms will probably set people off, which brings me to Nicole Collier, but give me 2 seconds. I've wrapped my mind around the inevitable nationwide ban on abortion, possibly birth control in general. The reintroduction of Jim Crow. I've wrapped my mind around the idea that some Black community, in addition to Altadena, will become the new Tulsa. One of these Black middle-class places is likely going to be torched. I wrap my mind around that. I've wrapped my mind around women losing the right to vote. These are things that I've just kind of accepted are likely. We're on that trajectory. Obviously not things that I want. Nicole Collier, attorney, state representative for Texas. She has been trapped in the state capitol for over 24 hours because she is refusing to sign a document, essentially like a permission slip, agreeing to have a 24-hour police escort. I'm reading this on HuffPo. They want her to at least stay there until they reconvene on Wednesday. So all day Tuesday, she just been sitting up in there. There's nothing going on. This all began, remember I mentioned midterms, because Dear Leader told the governor of Texas that he wanted them to gerrymander to eliminate congressional seats for Democrats in the House of Representatives from the state of Texas. So Jasmine Crockett represents a district in Texas. They are gerrymandering, or attempting to gerrymander, to get rid of Jasmine Crockett's seat so she would no longer be a member of Congress. They're trying to do that for Jasmine and at least 4 other Democrats from other districts. Direct order from Trump to the governor of Texas, who ordered the Texas state representatives to figure it out. Several of the representatives were like, this is some bullshit. Once the state representative started trying to redraw the maps and everything, in order to vote on it, they need a certain number of people present, so a quorum. A bunch of Democrats were like, this is some bullshit. We out. They left the state of Texas and stayed gone for a bop. They weren't able to do a vote. It died. They came back. The state representatives, and they have a Republican majority, decided to vote again. This time, they told the state representatives who returned, in order to leave, you need a permission slip. The same thing that they're saying to Nicole Collier. You got to sign this permission slip that allows you to be monitored with a 24-hour police escort, and you're agreeing to return on Wednesday. All the other Democrats, they agreed to sign it so they could leave. And Nicole Collier, I don't know if the rest of them are lawyers or not. Sister Nicole was like, this is some bullshit. No. So she didn't sign it. So they were like, well, okay. Well, then you can't leave. She's been moving between the House floor and her office, which is in the state capitol. She's been going back and forth for the last 24 hours. She slept on the House floor last night. She got a bonnet from somewhere. She got a sleep mask from somewhere. And she went and slept at the House floor. Somebody took a picture of her and she posted it online. This is beyond. Locking a state representative in the fucking Capitol, one offering them a permission slip like they're an elementary student trying to go to the zoo. Like, that's insane. Oh, you won't sign it? Okay, well, we're going to lock you in here. And if you try to leave, then we're going to arrest you. What? It's too much. I can fathom civil war. I can fathom losing the right to vote. Again, not accept. I can fathom that this is where we're going. Reinstituting segregation. I could not fathom they just locked this lady in the goddamn Capitol. Like, what the fuck is going on? This is the one that sent me over the edge. The occupation of LA, insane. The occupation of DC, insane. So much insane shit has happened. Kidnapping, not even just Latinos, like just a little bit of everybody, but mostly Latinos off the streets of American cities, counties, farmlands, whatever. It's all completely fucking insane. This is the one that is just like, has sent me. 20 years from now, when people are, like doing retrospectives, like, no, people are doing on Katrina right now. And people are like, when was the moment that you knew that, like, it was the point of no return? The shit got really real, like when it was really, really bad. I'm like, well, they locked this lady in the state capitol because this is crazy. This is crazy. Does that make you crazy? It's crazy. On Tuesday, she filed a writ of habeas corpus in Texas. This is State Representative Nicole Collier. She's claiming that the state legislature's Republican majority has unlawfully, detained her in the state capitol after she refused to consent to 24-hour police surveillance. In short, she was like, they have no right. There is nothing legal about this. In the document, she says, as Texas House Speaker Dustin Burrows, she says, quote, he does not have the power to compel any Texas citizen or any elected official into preemptive custody. She said the legislative party majority can compel attendance by absent members in order to obtain a quorum. They can actually direct the sergeant of arms to arrest and return absent lawmakers. That became legal in 2021, but they do not have the power to hold in custody a lawmaker due to a concern that they may be absent in the future or as punishment for previously being absent. No such power is conferred on the legislature to arrest or otherwise compel a member who is currently present and therefore not absent to stay. At this time, Burrow's office has not responded. Gavin Newsom has announced, because Texas has gone forward with this shit, we'll go ahead and gerrymander California in response, which he is in the midst of doing. Let me see if there's any update on this. The Hill just posted an article 20 minutes ago. California redistricting hearing turns heated as Republicans mount opposition campaign. It turned into a shouting match as a Republican lawmaker clashed with Democrats over a partisan plan to rewrite U.S. House maps to win Democrats more seats. Y'all should have called your homies in Texas, told them to stand down. You didn't. Now y'all about to lose y'all jobs. Not even just lose your job, lose your whole goddamn district. I'll check again before I upload the podcast. Gavin Newsom is on to something. It's like fight fire with fire. Like, you want to go crazy? Let's all go fucking crazy. That's how we going to end up in civil war. I don't know what another proper response is. Because Michelle Obama was like, when they go low, we go high. She stopped saying that shit for sure. Okay, I have to move on to another topic. I'll check in on Nicole before we wrap this episode. I'll do it after I'm done editing. Last but not least, certainly not least, it is the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. And most of the people listening to this podcast are people of a certain age. So we all watched New Orleans underwater live on CNN, MSNBC, whatever your network of choice was at the time. And I remember just screaming at my TV. I had a box TV. That's how long ago it was. But I remember screaming at my TV because I was so angry and hurt and scared and incensed by the treatment of the citizens of New Orleans. I remember crying a lot watching it on TV. 80% of the city is mostly underwater. People have climbed onto their roofs and are signaling for help. The horror stories that would come out of people separated, like your family member just floats away, your child just dies. Just the heartlessness, the cruelty of it all, of just leaving the citizens of New Orleans just outside in the sun with no water and no food for days. But I'm watching this documentary, and this new documentary on Hulu. This is one that's Ryan Coogler is the executive producer of. It's called Hurricane Katrina, Race Against Time. That's the one that's on Hulu and Disney Plus. That's the one I watched the other day. And just boo-hoo, like damn near dehydrated myself. I don't think I fully grasped just how bad the federal response was. Very often people would be like, oh, the citizens of New Orleans, like they were just forgotten about. They weren't forgotten about. People just didn't give a fuck. The American government, the state of New Orleans too, owes the citizens of New Orleans who survived Katrina, they owe them an apology for sure. Somebody should acknowledge like how they were done was wrong, but they also need money. They need to be compensated for the way they were fucked over for Katrina. I'm mad about this shit. Like it's live on TV right now. It's just so fucking wrong. Which brings me to my next topic. LaToya Cantrell. She is the current mayor of New Orleans. There's a federal indictment issued against her on Friday. I need to rewind real quick. One of the articles that I read about her is she came to prominence as a community leader during Katrina and then in the aftermath. Clearly, she served her people, or people felt that they were being served and cared for by her in order for her to run for mayor and be elected, not once, twice. So the city has not always been happy with her. I think right after her second election, I hope I'm getting this right, there was a recall. A lot of folks did not want her to be mayor for a variety of reasons. She survived the recall. She remained in office. So we're about to talk about this mayor, another Black mayor, who's been indicted. And what she's accused of is some criminal shit. It's not just moral, ethical-ish. At the heart of her indictment is that she utilized $70,000 of taxpayer money to vacation with and do other things with her boyfriend, who worked as her bodyguard as a part of the police force. What LaToya Cantrell is accused of is not the worst thing on earth. Nobody died. It's not quite a victimless crime because she's accused of is roundabout stealing money from her constituents. Bad, very bad. It's similar to what Eric Adams did, but Eric Adams like stole allegedly millions from the city of New York. It's not the worst thing on earth. And I understand that white boys do all sorts of criminal shit while they're in office. And a lot of them get away with it. They steal way more money. They do way more corrupt shit. Nothing happens to them. I want to recognize we are operating in an unfair system. We being Black folk. I also want to recognize the systemic racism exists. There are things that other people get away with all the time. We are scrutinized more. We are watched more. We are criticized more just for being Black. But I also need to, like, I don't have to say this to you particular. I'm just reminding you of what we were told when we were growing up. Twice as good to get half as much. Damn near every Black person you know, Black American at least, has heard some version of this speech. Like, it's drilled in us, especially if you're somebody who was expected to succeed, whether you're like the fourth generation to go to college or the first. So it's not like you don't know as a Black person that you have to do better. You know they're going to come for you. I'm not saying it's right that they do, but you know that it's going to happen. You know the game is rigged, and you know the rules that you have to play to succeed in it. No forced errors. And part of what pisses me off about this lawsuit is that it's a forced error. The shit that she's accused of, in fact, if she did the shit, it's her own fucking fault. She did it to herself. Nobody did it to her. I don't know if it's ego, if it's hubris, if she thought she was powerful enough to game the system and she would get away with it like white boys do. I don't know. Tyra yelling at the girl on Top Model, that meme that never dies. Like, we were rooting for you. We were rooting for you. Not just the first Black woman mayor in the city's 300-year history, the first fucking woman to be mayor. All the odds were against you, and you succeeded nevertheless. And this is the dumb shit that's going to take you down. $70,000 worth of dick. That better be the best pipe on the planet. I saw this woman talking about Jesse Williams the other day. He's on the cover of some magazine. I don't remember the cover. The image didn't really register for me. I just remember her conversation about it. She was talking about Jesse Williams and him performing on Broadway. Remember, he went full naked? And somebody among us, a sister in Christ, got in there with a camera and took pictures, full frontal. It was everything people had talked about and more. This woman was talking about him the other day. How did she describe it? It has something to do with Arby's. Something like he got the meats. Oh, this internet gonna be my goddamn downfall, I swear. She referred to Jesse Williams' genitalia as a stern piece of Arby's. I lost it. Lost it. Vanity Fair. That was the cover that he was on. That man better be a stern piece of Arby's. He better have the meats. Titi. That's what they call the mayor in New Orleans. Titi ma'am. Titi ma'am. Titi ma'am. What? You wasn't thinking. There's a picture. I posted it on my social media page. I'll repost it when I do the announcement for this podcast episode. She's sitting on a patio with him. I thought she was at a restaurant. I was informed that she was actually sitting on the patio. The mayor of New Orleans has her own private apartment in the French Quarter. And she and her boyfriend, they were both married when the relationship started. At some point during the relationship, her husband died. And then when his wife found out about the relationship, she promptly divorced him. So I don't know if when they were sitting out there, they were married people or divorced people. No matter their legal relationship status, they were two people that were not supposed to be engaging with each other because he was on the clock and actually put in hours for that shit. That's why he was sitting up on this balcony with her. But they sitting outside on the balcony, having a nice lunch, nice dinner together. Titi girl, Titi is gone. It's more than puppy love. I want to call it dickmatized. She got one hand up on her cheek. She leaned over to the side. Her head is cocked. Just imagine like the most love-struck look that you've ever seen a woman give a man. And you just looked at her and be like, oh, he knocking the Mario coins out that lady. She gone. Like she's just looking at him like he done set the sun in the sky or set the dick in her cervix. One or the other. Maybe the dick was worth $70K. I'm of the opinion that like dick is cheap. Dick will literally pay you to use it. A man will meet you, will call you, will ask you out, will wine and dine you, talk sweet to you, whole 9 yards, in the hopes that you will utilize his penis. Dick will literally pay for you to utilize it. And she out here spending $70K on some dick. Okay, this episode is running just a tad bit long, so I'm going to have it into 2 episodes, part 1 and part 2. We will go through LaToya Cantrell's federal indictment in part 2 of this episode. If it didn't take so long to edit, I would just let it run as one long episode, but this one is already coming in afternoon on Wednesday, so let me get this part up, and I'll get the other part up as soon as I can. I'll aim for tonight. I also told you I would give you an update on Nicole Collier at the end of this episode. She did, in fact, stay in the Capitol again last night. She also got a call from Kamala Harris. I'm reading on thehill.com. Several Texas Democrats joined State Representative Nicole Collier on Tuesday to protest new guidelines preventing party members from leaving the House chambers without a police escort and a signed agreement. 5 Democrats, women, and then 1 man stayed in the state house with her. They also tore up their permission slips, which I don't know why they signed them to begin with, but they did. But they tore them up outside the state house. The Democrats are starting to get weird with this. Still reading in AP, it says Tuesday, more Democrats returned to the Capitol to tear up the slips they had signed and stay on the House floor, which has a lounge and restroom for members. In case anybody was wondering, how they go into the bathroom. Representative Cassandra Garcia Hernandez, she called the Democrats' protest. This is why I was like, the shit's starting to get weird. She called it, quote, a slumber party for democracy. And she said the Democrats were holding strategy sessions on the floor. She added, quote, we are not criminals. She said having officers shadow her with an attack on her dignity and an attempt to control her movements, which, yeah, I understand that without having to live it. That's why I'm confused on why they agreed to sign as a grown-ass person, like a permission slip. I'm like, this is like a slave pass or some shit. You going from XYZ plantation into town to pick up whatever, or going the next plantation over to do some work, but you got to be back by sundown. Ugh. The Hill also has details on former Vice President Kamala Harris's phone call to Collier. Nicole Collier recorded herself during the conversation. It was on speaker. And essentially the former vice president said, keep going. Don't give up. Stand strong. Stand tall. And don't back down. So that's the current update on Nicole Collier. Let me see if there's anything else. All the recent stories are about the Democrats staying overnight. I do see an AP story about the folks who were being followed around. Dallas area Representative Linda Garcia, she said she drove 3 hours home with an officer following her. She said she went grocery shopping. He went down every aisle with her, pretending to shop. Austin Representative Cheryl Cole, she said in a social media post that she went on her morning walk on Tuesday and the officer following her lost her on the trail. The officer got angry and threatened to arrest her. She said there are 2 unmarked cars with officers inside parked outside her home. She said, quote, it's a weird feeling. The only way to explain the entire process is it's like I'm in a movie. Ma'am, it's like you're in Nazi Germany. It's not a film, it's real life. All right, I'm going to go start working on part 2. Thank you for listening. I'll be back sooner than expected. Bye.